This video is for you if you're wondering what to do with your extra cash during this inflation crisis. We've been wondering the same thing ourselves, and the answer we finally settled on after a lot of legwork is I-bonds. We've even maxed out our purchase limit for the year. More on that later, and how some of you can get around this purchase limit, legally of course. So I-bonds, they're yielding 7.12% right now, and they're low risk. It doesn't get much better than that at this point, especially when you look at how little high-yield savings accounts and CDs are offering right now. No wonder that I-bonds have gotten a lot more sexy lately. The I in I-bonds stands for inflation-linked. I-bonds are government savings bonds whose return increases with inflation, made exactly for these times. As an additional bonus, they're easy to get hold of. You can even buy one in as little as 5 minutes. By the end of this video, you'll know whether an I-bond might be right for you, how to buy an I-bond step by step, as well as some important restrictions or catches of buying an I-bond. And if you stay until the very end, I'll even tell you how to get around some of these restrictions, some of these catches. These 2 questions will help you figure out if an I-bond might be right for you. 1. Do you have extra cash above and beyond what you need in your emergency fund? 2. Is it possible that you might still need this extra cash, say next year, in 2 years, or perhaps even 5 years? For example, if you're saving up for a house, a wedding, a teen that'll be going to college, or retirement in the near future perhaps. If you answered yes to both of these questions, like we did, then an I-bond is something you should seriously consider to inflation-proof your extra cash at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, I-bonds are U.S. government savings bonds that help protect you during inflationary times. On the most basic level, think of it as a loan that you give to the U.S. government, a loan whose interest rate is adjusted upward or downward based on where inflation is. Because I-bonds are backed by the U.S. government, they are a low-risk, safe investment. In the industry, we say there's no credit risk. The U.S. government will not default on your I-bond or refuse to pay back your money when you redeem it a year later. This safety has, however, historically come at a price. I-bonds typically, in times of low inflation, come with lower returns than other types of bonds. Until recently, that is. The current yield on an I-bond in these times of inflation? 7.12%, as I mentioned earlier. I-bonds have a 30-year term and can only be purchased directly from the U.S. Treasury. This means that they're non-marketable, not available in the secondary market. You can't just go to your brokerage or retirement account at Fidelity, Vanguard, or wherever else and buy and sell I-bonds like you could with stocks, mutual funds, index funds, and ETFs. Now, some folks will say that this is a disadvantage, and it is an extra step. But this extra step takes literally 5 minutes, 10 if you're my parents. And 5 or 10 minutes for a 7.12% yield on my extra cash, I'll take that any day just fine. So what you need to do first is to go to the U.S. Treasury website and open an account, assuming you don't have one already. Then click on Treasury Direct under Individual Personal. What's going to pop up next is this page showing you the 3-step process for setting up an account. In step 1, you have to choose the type of account you're opening. Step 2 will require you to input your personal and banking information. And step 3 is around setting up your password, password reminder, and security questions. Scroll down and click on Apply Now. And what I'm going to do next is open an individual account. But you can also open up an account as a business or organization or as an estate or trust. Then click Submit. On the next screen, you'll have to fill out some basic personal and banking information. You'll need to provide your name, social security number or tax ID number, driver's license information, address, at least one phone number, email, and bank account information. Everything that is marked with a red asterisk is required. This bank account should be the one that you're using to fund your I-bond purchase with. triple, quadruple check that your banking information is correct, because changing it will take a fair bit of paperwork and legwork. Now, read through this section, check this box to certify your Social Security or tax ID number, and click Submit. This will take you to the next screen where you should double check all your personal information and banking details. Scroll down and submit if correct, or go back and edit if there are any mistakes. Once you click Submit, this will be the screen you see next. Choose an image and an image caption. And after this, choose your password, password reminder, and 3 security questions. Once you've completed this final step, you'll see something like this on your screen. At this point, check your email. You'll get something similar to this with your account number on it. And that was opening your Treasury account. Now, let's buy your IBAN. Go back to the treasury.gov homepage and click on Login. This will take you to another login page. Click on Login again. Don't ask me why, it's the government. Just think 7.12% yield, low risk. Enter your account number. Now, the next step, I don't have a screenshot of because my cook dinner for your family before they starve alarm rang super loudly for the final time and caused all sorts of chaos. But essentially, it's a screen that asks for a one-time security code. You'll find this one-time security code at the same email address where you received your login account number. And once you enter it, check the box that says something along the lines of "Remember me on this computer," assuming you're on a trusted, safe, personal computer. Here's the screen you'll see afterwards. Check your image and image caption to make sure everything is correct, and then input your password via this keyboard. Then scroll down and click Submit. And if you think you can type in your password on your laptop or computer keyboard, no, you can't. I tried several times. But here we are, ready to buy our first IBAN. Click on Buy Direct. And then on the next page, click on IBANs and Submit. Now, all you need to do is figure out how much you want to buy. The minimum is $25 and the maximum is $10,000. And for those of you who want to buy more than $10,000, there is a legitimate way to do this. We'll cover this in the last part of this video. You can buy your IBAN as a single purchase on a specific date or as regularly scheduled purchases. For example, weekly or monthly, or on specific dates like the day after your paycheck hits your bank account. We opted for single purchase, and here's the confirmation page we got afterwards. Remember to hit Submit after you've checked everything. And voila, that's your first IBAN purchase at a 7.12% yield. Sounds almost too good to be true. There are 4 restrictions. The first 2 are fairly simple, as I've already mentioned them. Restriction or catch number 1. IBANs are non-marketable. You have to open an account with the US Treasury, which we've just done. And when it comes time to sell the IBANs to redeem or get your money back, you can also only do this via the US Treasury. You can't just log onto your brokerage or retirement account at Fidelity, Vanguard, or wherever else and buy and sell your IBANs as you wish. Restriction or catch number 2. You can only buy $10,000 of IBANs per year, per individual or entity. So if you're sitting on $100,000 of extra cash, IBANs are great yield-wise, but you can't really inflation-proof your whole portfolio of excess cash with them. But there are several ways to get around this $10,000 limit legally. First, you can purchase up to an additional $5,000 of IBANs with your tax refund. So if you're envisioning IBANs in your investment portfolio for the near future, you can increase your tax withholding so that you'll have enough from your tax refund to purchase an additional $5,000 of IBANs. As always, consult with your tax or other relevant professional advisor beforehand. Second, you can purchase $10,000 for each of your children and gift it to them. The $10,000 annual cap on IBAN purchases is per Social Security or tax ID number. So, if you're a family of 4, you could, in theory, buy up to $40,000 of IBANs, excluding any tax refund-related purchases. You could buy $10,000 of IBANs for yourself, $10,000 for your spouse, and $10,000 for each of your 2 children. I'm sitting on this one for the time being, buying I-bonds for our kids, but I'll let you guys know over the next few weeks, few months, what we decide to do. Plus, go through other ways to inflation-proof your finances. So hit that like and if you want to be the first to know. Or if you don't like waiting and want to inflation-proof your nest egg sooner rather than later, then drop me a note at jennifer@diamondnestegg.com to see if working together might make sense. For those of you that have more extra cash to park in a safe place than is feasible under the I-bond limits, either reach out to me or stay tuned. We have more inflation and your money stuff for you guys as well. Back to I-bonds and your kids though. The great thing about gifting an I-bond to your children is that the interest earned on the I-bonds is exempt from all local, state, and federal income taxes if used for qualified higher education expenses upon redemption. For those of you who are not using I-bonds to pay for your children's qualified higher education expenses, do note that the interest on I-bonds is exempt from local and state income taxes, but not from federal income taxes. Having said that, you don't have to pay taxes on interest earned every year if you choose not to. In fact, according to the US Treasury, most folks choose to report their interest earned on I-bonds only when they redeem them at face value. Restriction or catch number 3. You have to hold I-bonds for at least a year. There is no way, I repeat, no way to get your money back within the first 12 months under any circumstances from the government. And if you redeem I-bonds within the first 5 years, you'll lose your last 3 months of interest. For us, we're willing to lose that last 3 months of interest if we do end up having to redeem our I-bonds within the first 5 years. I mean, where else could you get a yield of 7.12% right now, and in a security at such low risk level as a US savings bond? But as I always say, everyone's financial journey is different. Drop us a note at jennifer@diamondnestegg.com if you're interested in chatting further. Restriction or catch number 4. I-bonds are not a set it and forget it financial strategy, especially when it comes to using them as a way to inflation-proof your extra cash. You need to have a pulse on the market and understand where you stand on the will inflation keep going up spectrum. To understand what I mean, let's walk through how this current 7.12% yield on I-bonds is calculated. This 7.12% yield is what's known as the composite rate on an I-bond. And this composite rate is made up of 2 primary components: a fixed rate, which is set at the time of purchase of your I-bond. This fixed rate stays the same for the 30-year term of the I-bond, plus a variable rate that's equal to 2 times the semi-annual inflation rate. This variable rate changes every November and May based on inflation at that time. So all I-bonds purchased between November 1st, 2021 and April 30th, 2022 have a fixed rate of 0% and a semi-annual inflation rate of 3.56%. Take the 0% and add it to the 2 times 3.56%, and that's how you get to the composite rate, the I-bond yield of 7.12% for all I-bonds purchased between November 1st, 2021 and April 30th, 2022. What happens after April 30th, 2022? Well, a new semi-annual inflation rate will be set for May 2022, and depending on where inflation is then, this I-bond composite rate will also change. If inflation goes up, you should expect your I-bond composite rate to also go up. Similarly, if inflation goes down, you should expect your I-bond composite rate to also go down. And this is what I mean when I say buying I-bonds with your extra cash, parking your extra cash in I-bonds for a year or a few years, as we're doing, is not a set it and forget it financial strategy. You can bet that I'll be regularly tracking inflation rates, and especially where the I-bond yields are every November and May. And if you want to track inflation and our I-bond portfolio with me, see when we're adding or subtracting, then be sure to hit that thumbs up, and because I'll be back with updates. So anyone that buys an I-bond between November 2021 and April 30th, 2022 will get this 7.12% composite rate divided by 2, because the 7.12% is for a 12-month period. We bought ours in February 2022, so we'll get this 7.12% divided by 2 from the 6-month period starting in February 2022 and ending at the end of July 2022. And even though the new semi-annual inflation number, and therefore the new composite rate or yield on I-bonds, will come out in May 2022, it's TBD right now because no one knows yet. Even though the new composite rate will be out in May 2022, we won't actually get this rate until August 2022, when our 7.12% rate ends. And this new TBD rate that will be set in May 2022, we'll get it from August 2022 through to January 2023, our next 6-month I-bond holding period. One more thing to note is that this formula I showed you before, it's a simplified version of the actual one on the US Treasury website. I left off this part because, well, it confuses most people. All you need to know is that this part of the formula is designed so that your I-bond composite rate will never fall below 0%. So, in other words, in the worst case scenario for us, if inflation goes negative in the next few months, my composite rate could go from 7.12% to 0%. It'll never go below 0% though. So I'll still get back my initial investment of $10,000 from my I-bond. I won't make much money, but I also won't lose any of my initial investment dollars. Keep in mind that in our view, I-bonds are a defensive strategy for your money. It's not meant to significantly grow your wealth, but rather to preserve as much of your purchasing power as possible during inflationary times on cash that's sitting on the sidelines anyway. Cash that's above and beyond what you need for your emergency fund and for the next year. If you have extra money that you don't need for a longer period of time, think 5, 6, 7, or even more years, then check out this video here on our 4 must-dos during times of inflation. Money like that can be used to more offensively build and grow your wealth, your nest egg. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and if you're interested in working together, then drop me a note at jennifer@diamondnestegg.com. See you next week with another money-saving, wealth-building video.